Welcome back to Hiking with Kathleen. In today's video, I'm exploring the Sifton Bog environmentally sensitive area in the heart of London, Ontario, Canada. The reason for my stop today, this is a 2-day hike. I came here a few days ago where I had the good fortune of running into a person from the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority that manages this property, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how additional property was added to this environmentally sensitive area through the purchase that was made through developers. And I will have a chance to show you why this area is so special. Stay with me. This long boardwalk guides visitors through the swamp wetland to reach Sifton Bog's pond. That pond is called Redmond's Pond. It was formed some 15,000 years ago during the last ice age. At that time, when the ice was receding across the city of London, chunks of ice fell off the leading edge. Those chunks of ice created huge depressions on the ground, and then those depressions, once the ice melted, formed ponds. So we have the one here at Sifton Bog, and there are 5 others found at Westminster Ponds, Pond Mills, environmentally significant areas. This young group of journalism students from Western University were filming around Sifton Bog, visitors to it like me, and ultimately they were the reason Brendan Williamson from the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority was on site for their interview. He was gracious and generous with his time to provide an interview with me as well, on a Sunday no less.
My name is Brendan Williamson. I'm the Land Management Coordinator with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. And recently, earlier this year, we purchased 7 hectares of property right adjacent to the Sifton Bog. We used the Environment Climate Change Canada Nature Smart Climate Solutions Fund, and that grant was used to purchase this off of 2 developers, Auburn Developments and Drulo Holdings. And it's sort of the last piece of The puzzle for this highly sensitive area, this part of the property, the 7 hectares we purchased, is largely ANSI, Area of Natural Scientific Interest, as well as there is PSW, which is a provincially significant wetland. So a portion of the property is designated as PSW. So it was purchased to provide that extra bit of buffer between the Sifton Bog proper and the development to the east of the bog. So it allows us the opportunity to acquire this property and protect it in perpetuity. And one of the major projects that we're undertaking now is buckthorn removal. So buckthorn is an invasive woody species that invades an area. It takes up the light, space, nutrients, and just overall affects the native species in that area. So when you get buckthorn in a property so dense for so long, it will take up space that native species would normally take up. Because it creates that monoculture, it essentially reduces the biodiversity of that site because you get less wildlife attracted to that site because you have less diverse plant species on the site as well. So we are controlling that buckthorn now, beginning that process. It will take several years to control the buckthorn, and then we'll replant it with native species and a host of native wildflowers, grasses, as well as trees and shrubs.
So the reason I came back to Sifton Bog today is I wanted to be able to travel the trails that are not related to the boardwalk that brings you right out to Sifton Bog. And that's because that's where you might have a chance to see wildlife that lives off the main trail. Okay, so I've been exploring Sifton Bog this morning. I've been out here for a couple of hours, and it's been really refreshing to come through here. There are areas of the trail that pass through just behind people's backyards. So you can see their houses, and a lot of the trees are, with deciduous trees are without leaves now. So it's easy to see through, but therefore it's also easier to see wildlife. And so I just finished having a look at what I came to realize were 4 does, white-tailed deer. So I didn't want to get any closer to them. They don't have a very big solid woodlot to be able to escape predators or prying eyes. So I just wanted to let them be. And typically when you see a deer, there are more somewhere lurking around in the background. So that was a nice treat to be able to see them today. And I'm going to continue along on my hike and make my way back to the bog, which is where I was when I first started filming this a couple of days ago. So the reason I came back to Sifton Bog today is I wanted to be able to travel the trails that are not related to the boardwalk that brings you right out to Sifton Bog. And that's because that's where you might have a chance to see wildlife that lives off the main trail. And so I did have a chance to see some white-tailed deer, and I had a chance to see a lot of small birds, brown creepers, golden crown kinglets, of course black-capped chickadees, blue jays, and all of those things are living in and around this very unique environment. So when I say unique, here's what I mean. I'm going to show you a little bit about the very unique feature that we have a bog in the heart of southwestern Ontario, and this is typically a habitat. It's reserved for northern Ontario. The main feature of the Sifton Bog environmentally significant area is this floating acid peat bog. You can see it moving under my feet. This wetland is typically associated with boreal forest found in northern Ontario. It's a very nutrient-poor environment, but the plants that live here have adapted to that. In the growing season, you can actually find pitcher plants here. Those are carnivorous plants that digest insects and other small animals. Well, thanks for joining me on today's walk through Sifton Bog. I hope it gives you a chance to sort of have some insight as to how unique and special this environment is as an environmentally sensitive area within the city limits of London, Ontario, and southwestern Ontario. Because after all, this bog-like environment is more typical of northern Ontario, and for that reason, it's a very special place. See you next Tuesday morning. Bye for now.